All right, today we're coming out with another short video. We're gonna be talking about two cards. One that I use a fair amount and I've started using more, and then I want to talk about one of the best cards from the core box, because I feel like in the past now we've talked a lot about cards like we really don't use that much anymore, and I wanted to kind of talk about two cards that I still do use a lot, and I thought that'd be a little fun, and a little bit different, maybe a little interesting. So let's get this video started. But first, I have an important announcement to make. For those that don't know, I was recently invited on Villain Theories and Nelson Allover's podcast, Shadow of the Cast. It was a really great experience. It was a lot of fun. It was really enjoyable. And they put the episode up. We talk all about Nemesis sets. We talk about Shadow of the Past. We talk about Valkyrie, the GOAT. I converted both of them. You don't have to worry about that. They are both now true believers of Valk being the GOAT. So no fear there. We talked a bit about me and kind of my past. So if you're a little interested about that, it's like a little bit of a backstory about me. Nothing too crazy, but it goes into all that stuff. It was a really, really cool podcast. So huge thank you to Villain Theory and Nelson for inviting me on, for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'll link this video down below in case you're not subscribed to Villain's channel, which you should be because it's a really good channel. But yeah, definitely take a listen to the podcast. It's long, so you can just, when you're doing other stuff, and you can just listen to me ramble on about Nemesis sets and all that fun stuff. So anyway, again, big thanks. Hopefully you can take a listen to it. So the first card I want to talk about is Inspired, which I've mentioned this before, that I'm not the biggest leadership player out there, and this was a core box card, and for some reason I didn't play it a lot in the beginning, because in my head it's like, well, no, I'm going to just use the ally once and then they're going to get chump blocked, or I'm going to use them as a chump blocker and then they're going to get knocked out. So why would I pay one to do one thwart more or one attack more? Now, I guess me personally, I've evolved as a player where I'm more willing to use ready ups. I'm willing to heal allies on the table, not just myself, right? But to heal the ally on the table. And because of that, cards like Inspired make a bit more sense. And then we also have things like Yandu, who I should have pulled up, but he's a Guardian's ally in leadership that doesn't take consequential damage on attack. So like stuff like this makes really sense. Like anything you can Voltron out, right, and adding this card to makes a lot more sense. So this is a card that I didn't use a ton because I not that I played allies wrong, but I feel like I've evolved and matured as a ally user in this game. I guess is the best way to put it. I had a very basic concept in the beginning, and now it's kind of evolved past that. So anyway, this is one of the first cards I wanted to bring up. It's a card that I use a lot more now. I enjoy the idea of Voltron building more, especially with leadership now. So one of my strategies with leadership is that I'll put out an ally. I try to get two allies out at the same time. And I dedicate one as like the Voltron build, right? Like I'm going to build them out a little bit. I'm going to try to heal them. I'm going to try to work with them. They're going to do more damage or more threat removal or whatever else. And then subsequent allies are basically there to chump block for me, or I take the damage or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But it's something I've leaned into more, and I think I really enjoy the process. I've really enjoyed kind of how that works, and I've been a big fan of that. So anyway, I've been doing that more and more. And I think that's led me to like and appreciate Inspired more. Now, one of the very first cards that came out for the leadership deck that I think everyone kind of jumped on was Make the Call. And to this day, this might be the longest running card where I've never stopped using it because it's such a good card, right? So Make the Call, 0 cost event, pay the printed cost of an ally in any player's discard pile, put the ally into play under your control. Now, I don't play a lot of multiplayer, but it's interesting. You can pull in your neighbors, allies, and whatnot if you really wanted to. So that's pretty interesting of how that works. But anyway, I like this card a lot. Obviously, with leadership, being able to get allies back in from the discard pile is really nice. Teaming this up with a rapid response, right? That after your ally is defeated, you can bring them back in with 1 damage on them is really cool. But this is a card I think since day one, I was like, oh yeah, this is neat. This is cool. I can make this work. And it's a card that I still use to this day. And the reason I wanted to call out this card specifically is, are there cards like that for you? Right? Like, obviously, I want to know your opinions about Inspire to Make the Call. Maybe there's people out there that don't like Make the Call because it's not as efficient or whatever. And I totally get that argument to it too. But are there cards since day one that you've played? And maybe this is like Nick Fury and Avengers Mansion, because I could see that being it too. But since day one that like you've never really wavered on, like you've always been like, no, this is a great card. This is a card I use a lot. I mean, I'm kind of interested in hearing about that. So Anyway, make the call. I mean, this will always make sense as a card to have in a deck. Maybe not all leadership decks, but a large amount of them, right? Because generally you want to get your allies out there, and especially as we have more support or upgrade cards, mainly support cards, that can pump up the numbers on the allies on the table, or would make the call, being able to put in Nick Fury and Nick Fury triggers and all that fun stuff. Like, there's so much you can do with this card, I feel like. But anyway, so let me know your thoughts again about Inspired, about Make the Call, and additionally, are there any other cards where since the beginning of the game you're just like, nah, these are cards that I never slowed down really using ever. All right, hopefully you've been enjoying this series. I don't know how much longer we're going to keep it going. I don't know if we're going to take a break or we're going to just keep going maybe through all the cards and we'll just catch up with newer ones or something. I don't really know. But I've been enjoying it so far. Again, I think it's fun to go back to these older cards. And I wanted to take a different approach a little bit this time to really talk about cards, not just cards I don't use or just use a little bit, but cards that I do use more frequently. So anyway, do me a huge favor, hit the like button, hit subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps with the channel. Make sure you follow along over on twitch.tv/D20 Woodworking. We have some good live streams scheduled and planned. I think people are really going to enjoy them. And yeah, I appreciate you all being here, and I will see you all next time.